Got a banger for you guys today. Enjoy this episode with Jon Wechter of Be Bad Fitness. All right, and we are on, folks. This is Dave Battle coming at you from Scale Tippers with the Reason and Reps podcast. Anytime someone turns their camera on and I see an American flag and an AR-15, I know I'm talking to a good dude. John, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, brother. So I met you through Ryan Hayes, who is a hell of a guy and he goes pretty hard in the gym. And I've seen you squeeze like an extra 10% out of someone that already goes hard. So I know that you have that mindset and you're about your business, man. You're about your business. You bring good
Definitely.
energy.
Definitely. Ryan's a real good dude and he loves to work hard. So whenever I'm in PA, he's really the only person that I don't really work out with partners, but Ryan's a good dude to go get a workout in. Just because when you're traveling, sometimes you want a little extra oomph into it. I'm located in Tennessee, just to clarify that too for everyone listening. But born and raised in Philly. So Ryan and I actually went to the same high school. He's a little
Okay.
bit younger than me, but we met through mutual friends. He's friends with my little brother as well. And yeah, he told me about your gym and was like, dude, you got to come check out the spot. And I was like,
Yeah,
done,
that's
done.
great, man. Yeah, anytime you're in town and you come through, bro, there's always like a different vibe in here, which is cool. So I'm glad that you're a part of it.
Me too.
So you're in Tennessee. Are you close to the Arsenal Strength manufacturing plant? Do you know? That's where all their stuff's
I'm,
made.
I'm like 30 minutes south of Nashville.
Okay, got you. I know they just moved their facility. I think my contact there was telling me it's west of Nashville. I could be wrong about that, but one day I'm going to stop down there, so I'll make sure I hit you up when I'm in town. Dude, I
Definitely.
probably can get you to their headquarters with me to try all their
I would
new
love
shit.
that. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and when you're down here, obviously come by. We'll get some good workouts in. I train out of Olympus now, which is kind of known as the Mecca of the South.
good.
Great, it's like underground. You go down to the dungeon type thing. It's
Oh,
it's a real nice vibe. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to load up everything. I live on a farm now, so I'm trying to like build up everything in my own spots. I just got a cold plunge and whatnot. So when you're here, definitely roll through. We'll get some good shit going.
dude, that's lovely, man. You live on a farm too. My wife would be jealous, bro. So
Yeah,
are
just
you
do
are you
that here. That was the goal. So I lived in San Diego for 7 years before this, and I was just kind of done with the Cali life. That was like my college after the military, and was like, yeah, I want to live on a farm somewhere, a little more peaceful, slow life, and just be immersed in what I want to be immersed in. So I live on a cattle farm now, and starting the day walking out with dogs, seeing the cows and whatnot grazing. It's just beyond peaceful.
Yeah, that's great, man. Do you get your beef from there too? I'm sure it's all grass fed, all organic.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. I also live right down the street from an Amish market, so I just get all my food from there. It's all locally sourced, and it just
Ah,
makes a night and day difference of where you know where your food is coming from, and love it
dude,
here.
love it, man. All right, so let's start backwards here. So you have a company, a brand called Be Bad Fitness.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that's about, and then we'll back end into the journey into you creating the brand, Be Bad Fitness.
Sure. So everything about Be Bad Fitness is about finding your own inner badass, and everyone's got
Mm,
it in them. No matter what you do for life, no matter who you are, everyone's got the baddest version of themselves in it, and that's what I'm always trying to push people to. It's not just a fitness journey; it's a mental journey. The
mm,
mental struggle that you go through, it builds mental toughness and resilience, and that's just what I love to preach to all my clients. And the thing about fitness is it's become so polarized in this eat out of a Tupperware type
mm.
thing where it people think that you have to eat like a bodybuilder to be fit, which is far from the truth. You can be the baddest version of yourself while making it as convenient as possible. And I think that's what missed that there's always going to be some type of suffering and struggling and you're going to want to have your days where you just don't want to do anything and you want to eat shit food and whatnot. But I appreciate those are the most important days to stay on track because that's where you continue to build that mental resilience. But like I said, it doesn't have to be plain chicken and green beans out of a Tupperware that you're toting to work every day and whatnot. It's just helping people find the balance in life where you don't have to be perfect. It's fine. Everyone has a different balance genetically. Some people can, eat clean 4 days and off 3 days and still look amazing.
Right.
Other people, you need to be a lot more strict, but it's just about finding that balance. And that's what I just preach to all my clients of when we work together, I'm going to help you find your balance. We're going to really start building on your mental resilience. So once you and I are done working with each other, these types of things carry over into your life to make them habits instead of, I don't think any trainer's goal should be to have the same client forever. You should be teaching, and
Love that.
it should be a learning process through the whole time. So I only do online clients. I don't do any in person. And there's obviously ups and downs to that. There's, in person, like you said, when I'm with Ryan, I can get something out of someone just being a
Yeah.
leader. But when it's through basically just phone calls and things like that, it's a little bit harder. So um, with that attitude, it's, use me as a tool. Like I'm here to teach you. You're paying for that as well. I have a bunch of knowledge from a bunch of different backgrounds throughout my life. I've done basically anything you could think of, barring a powerlifting meet, which is coming up soon enough. But I, compete in bodybuilding, run marathons, military, CIA, like we were just talking about. I have a plethora of knowledge for a plethora of different avenues with that entail within fitness. So that's just kind of the MO I've always gone about, that use me. So then when we're done, you continue with success.
Dude, I love that, man. And a word that you mentioned there a couple times was balance. Like unless you're competing for a show, I think a lot of these trainers, they try to be way too strict with their clients. Like
Definitely.
there is a path of least resistance. And if people are stepping into the gym for the first time, you're just going to discourage them if you put them through some crazy fucking workout that like destroys them. Like I actually made this problem. I had this problem, man. Like I had a client who is a regular, like standard American, overweight, mid 40s, right? I put him on a solid workout plan that was challenging enough. But
Right.
3 weeks into it, I say to this guy, like, hey, why don't we do a session together? And dude, I pushed him too hard, man. And I think I broke his confidence. Like I really made a
Mhm.
mistake here, because he started to question, can I do this? And
Right.
I had him training at a level that he just really didn't need to train at. So finding that balance, man. In all aspects of life, I think that's a word that we need to really consider and bring into
Exactly.
every aspect of every
Every
day,
single
man.
one.
This shit's so
Every single one.
polarized, right? It's
It
like
really it doesn't
everything.
even matter what avenue you look at. We're just lacking balance, especially as Americans, in almost all aspects. Where
Yeah.
it just feels like we're so out of whack and so out of touch just because everything is so extreme, from politics to
Oh my
what
God.
we eat to all of it. That it's definitely a word that we're lacking within our society right now. Finding the balance within everything of like sometimes you just got to let go. Sometimes and like what especially as bodybuilders, I'm sure as you know, because you compete and whatnot, what do you do weeks leading into the show? You're not crushing it still. You got to let your body recover. That's the balance of it. You got to let your body still do its thing and stay where it's at. You don't want to just continue crushing it and you step on stage looking more frail and soft and whatnot
Mm,
because you're in such a caloric deficit, your body can't keep up. So
yeah.
it's just on the balance of it all.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And speaking of extremes, so you lived in San Diego, so you're in California, which is like, like socialist utopia. Well, San Diego's not as bad as like LA and all that.
Right.
Now you're in Tennessee, right? So it's
Yeah,
like that's funny that change of pace.
for
Like
sure.
I'm
So
probably like more of a Tennessee guy. Like I have wife and
yeah,
kids. I'm more that style. Um, but why the move from San Diego to Tennessee? How'd that come about?
Well, the only reason I went to San Diego was because I got paid to go to San Diego. My college was paid
Okay,
for coming out of the military, and I was like, why not go live the most expensive place possible? That it
nice.
wasn't like I'm going to plant roots here. It was I'm going to enjoy myself. When I was in the military, I was stationed in Seattle for a while, and it's just overcast every goddamn day. So I was like, I just want to be in the sun. I want to be on the beach. I just want to chill. So it was between Florida and San Diego, and Florida, not no knocks on Florida, but the humidity was just a huge knock to me. Where San Diego, it's sunny and 75 for 10 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And the
Right.
fitness culture there is absolutely unreal. Best gyms I've ever been to. I just removed myself from a lot of the politics and bullshit there. But like you said, it's not LA. Like there's a huge naval base in San Diego. That's where a lot of the SEALs are stationed and whatnot. So it was just kind of finding that balance. And my balance with that was like, don't get too enwrapped in this. And I found a lot of myself in San Diego just because my emphasis wasn't put on meeting people. My emphasis was just on enjoying my time and spending my energy building within myself, where it really helped me form this, what am I really looking for in the future, which brought me to Tennessee. And
Interesting.
I've always I grew up Roman Catholic, super right wing, all that. So San Diego was a big drastic change, but it also taught me a lot of things that I got to open up where now I'm more aligned in the middle of everything.
Mm,
Like especially with politics, I'm like, I just want shit to work. I want people to stay the fuck out of my life and I want shit to
yeah,
work.
man.
Don't tell me how to live my life because who the fuck are you? Who are you to tell me anything? So it
Right.
was just like, let me find a place where I can just get off the grid as much as possible, eat food where I know where it's coming from, be in a small, tight knit community. Nashville's much different. Nashville's its own thing. That's a crazy city. That's why I came more down south here in Nolensville, for people who are familiar with Tennessee. But yeah, man, it's just like a farming community down here that's kind of getting built up a little more and a little more, and it's like a one-way road in and out of the town, and it's just awesome.
That's great, man. And we're going off script here just because I didn't realize that you had the military background, the CIA background. You're just an interesting guy all around. So, you mentioned like stay the fuck out of my life, right? I've started to look at the political lexicon not in terms of left and right, but like anarchy and tyranny, right?
Definitely.
And I'm like you, like listen, if I was king of the world would be a place that I think would be great, but a lot of people wouldn't like
Right,
it so much, right? Like
right,
it'd be oppressive to a lot of people. So how do you organize a country of like what are we up to damn near 400 million people? Everybody's not going to be comfortable all the time, but we
right.
can set up a way where I can't impose what I think are my brilliant ideas, which someone's going to find crazy, 400 million of us. Um, you know, I think if people realized and treated that as their North Star, let's just stay out of each other's lives, things wouldn't be as
Perfect.
polarized.
Right. And I think where people are misguided is that they think that they need to vote for someone who has their ideals instead of voting for someone who's like, you keep your ideals and no one's gonna fuck with you because of them.
Right.
So I think that's where we're getting like so off track with like, so specifically it's always such a topic of, that's always brought up with abortion and whatnot, with the Roe versus Wade and whatnot, where when people are like, oh, it should be a fundamental right to get an abortion, like the government should just let us do it. My view is the government shouldn't have a say, period. You do whatever the fuck you want
Mm,
with your body. It's not up to anyone else to tell you what to do with your body, period. Regardless of morally whether you agree with that or not, is a completely different story, but that's still someone else's life to live. If they're comfortable with it, that's their life to live. Same with the vaccines. You not comfortable with these vaccines? Who the fuck is anyone to tell me as a healthy 31-year-old that I need a vaccine for the flu? You know what I mean? So I just think it all falls in the same boat of like, I'm not voting for someone who's necessarily like, oh, you align with everything that I'm pushing and want to approve. I'm more aligned with someone who's just like, it's none of my fucking business what you do. You just
yeah.
live your life as you're supposed to and want to, and that's how you're going to find enlightenment. That's how you're going to find fulfillment in life, and that has nothing to do with me. So I'm like, support as small government as possible. The federal government should be abolished to as most extreme extent as possible, because even if you talk to people who come to America from overseas, they'll tell you it's 50 mini countries in one. Like
Right.
how can we rule one country that we have the Pacific Northwest, which is drastically different than the South, which is drastically different than the Midwest, which is drastically different from the Southwest. It's just we cover so many different bases and have such a plethora of different cultures, which that's what has always made America great. All the cultures coming in to mix as one and the freedom to do so. But now we're trying to govern over saying like what's right and wrong. Who the fuck are you to decide what's right and wrong for me?
Yeah. Dude, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And I'm going to stick on this California Tennessee example, right? Like me personally, father of five, married, I'm never moving to California. Like I think the
Right.
government is way too involved with what people can
Definitely.
do with their kids. The taxes are crazy, the homelessness is crazy. Like I don't agree with how California is governed,
Completely.
but some people do.
Some people
And
love
I
it. Some
I
people want it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think
So
it's a
that's why I think
beautiful.
state should have more power in everything than
Yes,
the federal government. And that's what America always was supposed to be.
dude.
But
I.
we just
Yep.
let the federal government just go completely unchecked for so long, and they just kept feeding themselves power and just put it under bills that no one read through 520 pages of whatever, where they're just sneaking shit in left and right.
Oh, and then they always name it something hyper convenient. Like, how could you
Yeah,
disagree with it, right? Like the bill's called
right.
let's put water on burning puppies. And then what do you want to
Yeah,
be the
yeah,
guy that
exactly.
disagrees with that? It's like, oh,
Right,
so
exactly.
now you want puppies to burn? It's like, no, I just don't think that the tax rate should be
Yeah,
75%.
yeah, exactly. And like on page 2000, of course, the Congress and everyone's always getting pay bumps where they just never include that either. Like, oh, okay, so you get to sit in an air conditioned room for end of your life, and you're a senile person that's barely doing anything, but you deserve a raise while people are paying $80 at the grocery store for a bag of fruit and a couple packs of meat.
Right, right. And another thing, man, like people, they're so tribal with their politics, but if you pay attention, most people, it's a uniparty, right? Like most of these politicians are bought and paid for by some industry, right? It's either
Exactly.
it's either the military industrial complex, it's big pharma, it's big food.
Yep.
They all
Yep.
serve some type of master. And that's why you see people like what's the salary of a governor? It's like something modest, buck 20, buck 30, right? But how much is Nancy Pelosi worth?
Yep. Exactly.
50 million. And then by the way, she's a hell of a stock trader, but let John or Dave do some insider trading and we're going to
Right.
jail.
We're going to jail. Right. Exactly. We're going to jail. We delete 3 million emails off a government server. You're spending life in jail.
No fucking shit, man. No shit. And like, yeah, people just don't realize it's both parties doing it, man. It's both parties
Yeah.
serving
It's all of
different
it's just
masters.
keep us as blind as possible, and both parties are in on it.
Yeah.
We think that they're against each other, but they're all working together. We're the losers no matter what happens, essentially, as long as we're just still going and voluntarily participating in this two-party system.
I could not agree with you more. And we're going to have to set up separate time just to talk this type
Fair
of
enough.
stuff
Fair enough.
because we're
We get
yeah
back on track. Yeah.
we're yeah we definitely went off script there, but it was well worth it. So, all right, let's go crash course here. So take me from John graduates high school through Be Bad Fitness and touch on as you go where you were in your fitness journey each step of the way.
So getting out of high school, I had a little more than a summer. So I went to basic training in October, graduated June, July, whatever it was. So those next 5 months and my senior year, played sports and whatnot, lifted, played lacrosse. That was my jam. Then spent that summer plus just training up, getting ready because I knew I was going in to go try out for special operations. Had it in my contract. Joined the military, went right through basic training, right through airborne school, then went through Ranger Assessment Selection Program, went to Second Ranger Battalion in Washington, Seattle, like I was talking about.
Mm,
And then within 2 weeks of graduation, I was in Afghanistan.
ooh.
So I was fresh 19 in Afghanistan, surrounded by a bunch of fucking studs. And this version of me here is not that 19-year-old kid. Like that was like basically putting in 100% every day and having to just mentally gruel through things, especially going overseas as a brand new guy. You're now in the ringer. You're like
Mm,
it's not like, oh yeah, you're one of the guys. It's one thing about Ranger Battalion, and you can ask any guy that was there, that they say it's selection every day. It's very easy to get knocked out of there, which actually happened to me. But the it's a prove it every single day. You're never comfortable. You're always on the chopping block essentially because that's just the standard they hold, which is why they're one of the best units in the world.
mm,
So there it was functional fitness, a lot of functional fitness. Then spent a little later part of my career in the 82nd Airborne, which there it was a lot easier for me. So then I had the freedom to start doing things like work more on bodybuilding and the aesthetic portion of it. And that's where I kind of got into that. And I found powerlifting mixed with bodybuilding. And that's when I really started to blow up, where, crushing heavy weights, then moving into a more bodybuilding split towards the end of the workouts, taking a bunch of rest days, calories were through the roof just to try and get as big as strong as possible, doing like dirty bulks for cuts and stuff. So that's when I kind of moved into the bodybuilding aspect of it. Ended up getting out of the military, moved to San Diego. Fitness is huge there. Definitely one of the most fit places I've ever been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, like I said, it's sunny and 75 every day. So people are more inclined to be looking good in a bikini or whatever you're wearing. So that was super motivating, just being around that culture and whatnot. Was going to college there. COVID hit, had to stop going to school because they basically stopped doing all in-person classes. That's when I started contracting for the CIA for a bit. Did a couple more deployments to Afghanistan, and
Oh, let's pause there. And I don't know like how much of that you could talk about, but that like contracted for the CIA, that's not something that deserves like 5 seconds. So how does like so okay, so you're in the military, obviously, so there's some type of affiliation, but like did a recruiter reach out to you? Was there a posting? Like how does
so
one even become affiliated?
they have recruiters, and a buddy of mine who I met down in San Diego, Dave, who was a Swick boat cat. He turned me on to the recruiter, and funny enough, the recruiter was the older brother of one of the guys who was in my platoon and Ranger Battalion that I went on
Oh, no
deployment
shit.
with.
Okay.
So it was basically like a shake of the hand. You have to have qualifications for it, like a certain amount of time overseas, some type of special operation background or Marine background. And there's, a qualification list, and then you go to another selection process and then have to pass that as well. So pass that selection process, and that's when I started spinning up to Afghanistan again and spent a lot of my time during COVID in Afghanistan. But there, it's much different than a military setting. Military
Mm,
setting, you're with your unit, you do everything with them, you guys train together, you work together, whatnot. When you're contracting for the CIA like that, you literally go from your house to Afghanistan. So there's
mm,
not like a train up with a certain amount of guys. You get there and then you meet your team and then you assimilate and start doing whatever you're doing. And everyone's like this. So there's just a lot more individual freedom or detriment, as you could say.
mm,
Some guys, I didn't really, I had a couple guys that I got along with, like the guys who were, in the gym and whatnot, but a lot of guys there, and it's not a knock to them, but they were more of like, I'm gonna do what I need to do here, and then I'm gonna go back to my room and play video games and spend the rest of my time here, like that. To
right.
me, it almost felt like a jail sentence, where I'm like, I'm here for 8 months, I got nothing else to do, so I just spent the time, like I picked up Babbel, started learning Italian, read a bunch of books, things like that, and I just drew myself out like I would do like increments of 60 to 45 days, and I would just call it my own version of hell. This
Mm,
is your hell for the next. And I would just draw out the most brutal workouts I could possibly think of and just crush myself. And that just took things to an even bigger level of like mental resilience beyond already what I was, where because before it was like, say specifically a Ranger Battalion, someone's telling me to do everything and I
mm,
have to now perform. This was all on my own. Like there's no one holding me accountable. There's no one saying that I can't just wake up and be like, fuck it, I'm not gonna work out today. This is all on my own.
right.
So that type of mental resilience, like I think one day I ended up doing like 27 and a half miles on a treadmill. Just like shit like that, where it was just like, let me just see how far I can humanly push myself while I'm here because that's just how I wanted to spend my time there. So I didn't get along, not that I didn't get along with, but I didn't mesh with a lot of guys because most people aren't on that type of train while we were over there. And
Right.
like I said, it's not a knock on anyone else. This was just like, I'm here. Why not make this the most I absolutely can of this situation?
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to derail, but I did want
No,
some more
you're good.
information on there. So, all right, let's pick it up from some contractor from CIA from that point on.
So then Afghanistan came to a close where we did the pullout. I was actually one of the last guys in Afghanistan during that time. And that just made me, it just turned me into a real dark, it turned into a real dark spot there. So I did come back. And like I said, it's not like you come back with a unit. You come back and now I'm back home. And I'm looking at my brother and roommate every day. And, they've just been living in sunny California. And I just gone through that. So there was a whole process of, you know, unwinding and figuring that piece out and a lot of solitude, which I find so much peace and solitude in nature that then transition to like, okay, I know I never want to work for the government again. Like that was
Mm,
the last straw. Like they were like, oh, we still got contracts to Syria and Iraq and whatnot. I was like, absolutely not. I just got to witness the ruthlessness of not giving a fuck by our own government, of all these people that we said we're going to get out. And for 20 plus years, as these people were helping us, it was like, oh no, we're making you all the promises. We'll make sure you're taken care of. And we just fucking left them all.
just gone. Yeah.
So after that, I was like, I'm never working for the government again. And that's when I started Be Bad Fitness and was like, you know what? I have all the tools in my trade. I just done a bodybuilding show, my first one. It was the Excalibur. I competed in Classic Physique and won the Open. So it was like,
Nice.
what better time to start my, a personal training company. I still do have that security company where I do private clients, and I've always done them. So like I go to India and places like that. That's actually when we first met. I think I told you I was heading to
Yeah,
India for
yeah, that's right.
work. So like I still have clients that are whether celebrities, CEOs, just high value people who can afford me that just want me there. So I
Right.
still do that, but then it was like, okay, what am I going to do to fill in the rest of the gaps? And it was just like, why not start training people? And that's where Be Bad Fitness kind of came about.
That's awesome, brother. Wow. Okay. Damn. There are a lot of places I want to go, but I do try to keep these to a half an hour,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I
just
totally
flew the
understand. We've already
fuck
been off
by.
track several
Holy
times.
cow, man. All right, so let's just tie a bow on this, and to be continued for sure. Um, the Excalibur. What league is that? OCB, or who did you compete with for bodybuilding? What league?
NPC.
Oh, you did an NPC.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. And you won the Open there.
yeah.
Have you done any other shows?
No, but I'm getting ready to do one in Chattanooga here in October. So this is what I'm prepping up for right now.
Awesome. Okay. And classic physique, you're a tall guy, so I guess classic would be better for you than bodybuilding. Or how'd you lean toward classic versus bodybuilding?
I was never honestly into the bodybuilding look. Like it's awesome, and some guys just absolutely crush it. But I just, even if it wasn't classic, before classic was made, I was always gearing towards physique. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's what
what
I do.
I was
So
kind of
right.
always heading to. But being tall, I was never in a rush to get on stage because it's just harder building proportions being tall. I'm 6'3", so I never was in a rush to be like, I just want to do it. I was always like, when I'm ready, I'm going to do it. And that year, I was like, this is the year I'm ready to step on stage and do it. And Classic Physique had come about. And I mean, who doesn't? I just love the way that the guys look and the aesthetic to it, and how it's more focused on proportion to good looking muscle belly and good thickness compared to seems like building nowadays is how much muscle can you pack onto a short guy. And
Right.
I don't, at least what I've seen in the IFBB, there hasn't been a Mr. Olympia honestly since Phil Heath that I thought has looked that good. That's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion. And don't get me wrong, it's super impressive. You know what I mean? Like beyond the most impressive thing to see these guys and what they can do with their bodies and whatnot. Just not an aesthetic that I ever was like, that's what I want. I
Yeah. No,
was
you
always
can
leaning more towards the Arnold, the Frank Zane, even the Lee
right.
Haney era. And as I've grown, I've definitely grown to really appreciate more of like, the Dorian Yates and those guys and whatnot, but still not necessarily a physique that I even felt like my frame would feel comfortable with. Like
Yeah.
everyone's got to do with what's comfortable in their own frame and body. And I am a tall guy. I did go through the military. I got my issues of joints and stuff like that. And it just kind of felt like to get to that size, it's just not something I wanted.
Understood. Understood. All right. Well, listen, if you're listening to the podcast here and you have any mental struggles, if you're looking to get right with your physique, and this conversation doesn't let you know who the man is to talk to, and you're just not listening. So, let the folks know how can they find Be Bad Fitness and get in contact with you for coaching.
So on my Instagram, it's just Be Bad Fitness. I have a Facebook, Jon Wechter. You can contact me through there. On my Instagram, I have a LinkedIn where you can fill in a 1v1 coaching application. And it doesn't necessarily mean you move forward with anything. It's just to kind of start the process, see where you're at. And I'm open to any conversation. It's not like, oh, my time is only worth what you're paying me for. Feel free to hit me up about anything. I have a couple other podcasts that I think are posted on my Instagram that are more geared towards mental health and things like that. It was, just people had reached out, and from my journey of healing and whatnot, which is a whole other topic for a different day.
Mm,
But yeah, Be Bad Fitness on Instagram. Shoot me a DM, fill out a coaching app, or I think my phone might be listed on there, an email.
perfect. All right, folks. Well, we'll give them a follow. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is Dave. We're going to sign off here on the Reason and Reps podcast, reminding everyone to stay fit, stay free. Peace. We'll talk to you later.
Next day.